Awesome. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're focused on sharing a study LTK recently conducted focused on Gen Z. And really, the focus of the conversation is how to unlock Gen Z spending power. So we'll have some tidbits in here about holiday and really how to be impactful now and how to prep now, as well as really where Gen Z is shopping. There's a lot of channel level data. So jumping ahead just to what to expect this webinar, we'll share at the start of this presentation, a brief presentation, and then we're going to move into a discussion with two Gen Z creators themselves. So Jenna Palek and Brooke Lynn, they're both on LTK. They've both been creators for some time, and they're going to be sharing their insights, everything from how to link on TikTok to really what they're buying for holiday and really what they think creator commerce is going to do through the back part of this year and into next year. So a bit about LTK. So just to kick us off, we have brands on the phone, many of who we've worked with for years, and we've done thousands of campaigns with you. And we also have some newer partners on the phone, or maybe some partners who we haven't collaborated with quite yet. So really just who is LTK? Well, we are a creator commerce platform that has technology to power both creators, brands, and consumers alike. Our business has dedicated teams across each one of those segments. So we have a team dedicated for that tech aspect for creators, that tech aspect for brands, and that aspect for consumers through our LTK app. And from a brand standpoint, we really help brands harness the power of creator commerce. So again, through that technology and really through the marketing and consulting that we provide to you. I always say that's a wordy statement. We're a wordy company to unpack. So really focused on really what's different from us. We power creator commerce. So how do we do that? First is tech. So what is the type of technology we provide to your brand? The first is we do have a 5-star shopping app. So we have 10 million registered users within this app. You can imagine just the plethora of data that we have that we can help advise your brand. But many brands see the majority of their sales actually occurring within our LTK app. It's completely incremental to your business. And it's an app, we call it platform agnostic. So it's TikTok today. We're talking a lot about TikTok, a lot about Instagram, a lot about Reels and video. In this conversation, the app really serves as a place where content can live and has legs for your brand. And then we also have over 10 years of data. So we, of course, are focused on awareness campaigns, but we're also really focused on driving sales and driving performance for our brand. So we have that full funnel marketing strategy that we provide. And you'll see kind of that data weaved in through all the conversations we have, through data heavy presentations like this to exactly how we're advising your brand to work with creators on an individual campaign. In fact, there's so many insights and so much data at our fingertips that we continue to evolve our products to really help your brand harness those insights. The second thing that we provide to you as a brand is that consulting. So we have thousands, if not tens of thousands of conversations with brands each month, really focused on hitting unique goals and unique KPIs per brand. We partner with brands of all sizes. So we have LTK Connect, which is our self-service platform. And then we have our optimized programs as well, which is our managed service. And then on the influencer side, what is really powerful for brands is we actually have these services for LTK influencers or creators as well, two of whom you'll hear from today. But we have tech that they can plug into that makes linking and tracking really easy, as well as those consulting services. And then from the consumer side, we wrap it all into a pretty package in the LTK app. So really all of this combined provides brands with this powerful ecosystem to power creator commerce and to really harness the power of creators. So moving into the content sneak peek here, again, I'm going to try to be brief in this presentation today so we can get into a great conversation with some Gen Z creators specifically. But we're focused really on today is Gen Z. So Gen Z, creator is the most trusted medium for Gen Z. And they're the most influential generation on social. I think of Gen Z, they grew up with cell phones in their hands, unlike millennials like myself, who maybe we didn't have cell phones. iPhones weren't around when we were young. So it's interesting to see that evolution over time. And they've shown that short form video is really here to stay. So my main takeaway from a brand standpoint when I think of Gen Z is they're the future. It's no longer this test tactic. It's been tested, it's been proven. In 2023, it's going to be a staple of savvy marketers' marketing plans to really future-proof that strategy. Throughout this presentation, we're going to have nods to and mentions and data around the current economy and inflation as well. It's kind of the elephant in the room in every single conversation. So we also have a brief section on this topic as well. So jumping ahead to our specific shopper study. So this is a data-heavy presentation. LTK conducts on a frequent basis national consumer studies. And really we do this to help amplify the data that we're seeing on our platform and to kind of gut check what we're seeing. Is this right? Does this look right? Is this in line with what our platform's seeing? And so we conducted a national consumer study, actually 2 of them, one in July, at the end of July, and one at the end of May, with 1,000 participants each. And you're about to see the results filtered to Gen Z throughout this presentation. So the economy, the first things first, we won't beat around the bush. There is an economic impact right now. It's the elephant in the room. It's the conversations we're honestly having with a lot of our brand partners. Your brand's likely talking about this internally. How do you prep? How do you pivot? Yet again, we've had a couple years filled with pivots. And really on the positive front, what we're seeing in our data is that Gen Z is actually the least impacted by inflation, and they have the most positive financial outlook of any generation. So we see 86% of Gen Z have reported that their household income has stayed the same or improved versus last year. They are watching their finances closely, but who isn't? But quite a bit less than the general population. And the most positive, the majority report that their buying power is actually up year over year. So there on the right, you're going to see the impact on inflation over the last 6 months, and Gen Z is actually the most improved. And so I think from a brand standpoint, while many brands on the phone, we're talking about how to do more with maybe less, or how to be super strategic, particularly in spend. You're watching purse strings more closely. Gen Z is the group who's likely to be spending. So from a brand standpoint, this shows opportunity to continue to lean in this group, especially with always on activations. So on to the next insight we see here. So mobile shopping and social channel usage is the highest among Gen Z. So this data point did not surprise me. We've seen that shift towards consuming content on social media. Consumer content is no longer something people are kind of doing ad hoc. It really, honestly, it's the norm. But Gen Z is more than any generation using content on social media. We've talked about that through our webinar series in the past. I'm not going to dig into this too much further, but feel free to reach out if you need more data on consumer mobile and social shopping habits. But shifting gears a little bit to the now. So 55% of consumers are going to do the majority of their holiday shopping online. 73% of Gen Z reports that the majority of their online shopping takes place on their phone, so on their mobile device. So what does this mean for your brand? Really, you need to understand where this generation is being inspired, where their time is being spent, what mobile apps are they in. 99% of Gen Z reports to using social media. So I'm just going to say that's everyone. All of Gen Z uses social media. If you want to reach Gen Z, you have to be on social media. That's where they're on their phones, and that's where they're spending their time. And they've already reported that the majority of their shopping takes place on their mobile device. So it kind of all lines up nicely. Here on the right, this deck's going to have a lot of channel level data. I think I've had conversations with probably many of the brands on the call today, and a lot of our team members about just a social strategy. We see new channels emerging, almost every year at this point. So what you're seeing on this page is top reported favorite apps. So we have Gen Z at the top and the general population at the bottom. So you see kind of TikTok there as that big number one, and that's Gen Z's reported favorite app right now. TikTok followed by Instagram, followed by YouTube. And when you're just looking at the total population in general, we're seeing Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So again, Facebook fell out, TikTok is number one. And again, I talk to brands all the time about this channel level strategy. You just see a large focus on this through the presentation. I've been in the industry now almost a decade, and I guess the one consistency is that the channels will always evolve and will always change. But my main takeaway is social's here to stay, and it's really just how is your brand going to lean into and what strategy are you going to take per channel? So jumping into the next point, Creator is the most trusted digital media for Gen Z. As a brand, you're likely wondering how favorite social medias ties into creator marketing. And the data on this slide really touches on that. Basically, we see Creator being the most trusted digital media for Gen Z. This generation, in some cases, trusts Creator more than friends and family, we've heard. But no, they've reported that they trust Creator more than other digital medias like celebrities and ads. And really from a personal standpoint, when I take a step back, at first I was surprised, but then I kind of got it. Well, I'm clearly sitting in the millennial bucket. I've opted into following certain creators based on what's relevant in my life. I've essentially grown up with them in a sense. I turn to them for beauty products, maybe anti-aging beauty products, quick after work recipe, toddler recommendations. And really you think of Gen Z's usage. They've been around, they've had a phone in their hand since they were very young. They've been around since social apps were a thing, where as opposed to some millennials like myself, you had to have a college email to be able to access Facebook. So it really is the norm. So why does Gen Z visit social media? We have some reasons listed here on the phone. So the first is to be entertained. And the second is to post and share things they like with their friends and their followers. And the third is to seek out tips and advice from social media influencers that they trust. So when you look at that channel level data there on the right, 90% of Gen Z follows creators on social media. And this is actually 20% higher than the general population. So again, this is a pretty big shift of the general population. They're of course using social media like we saw on the previous slide, but we see this big delta of Gen Z following influencers on social channels quite a bit more than the general population. So the channels that Gen Z follows creators on, number one is again TikTok, number two is again Instagram, and number three is again YouTube. And again, I think of what's the common denominator between all these channels? Well, I think video. Short form video is here to stay. We have quite a bit in the back part of this presentation on that and some great data points there. And then the general population, where they following creators, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. So on to the next slide here. We do also, so not only are they following creators, but they're of course shopping creators. We saw at the start of the presentation just some more macro data on majority of shopping on their phones and where are they being inspired. We're seeing that come to life here. So 99% of Gen Z is on social media, 90% are following creators. So when you're looking at social shopping in general, we see 83% of Gen Z reporting to doing some shopping originating from social media. So shifting gears, not just social media shopping, but shopping through creators specifically, the bulk of Gen Z following creators are actually shopping creators' content. And what's really interesting is Gen Z's regularly buying products from creators. So 40% more than the general population, 40%. We saw on the previous slide, 20% more follow creator on social channels, but 40% more are buying from creator on social channels. So what channels are they shopping on from creator? This is where we see a small shift with Instagram outpacing TikTok for shopping habits. So we see Instagram as shopping creator first for Gen Z, followed by TikTok and followed by YouTube. So always going back to what does this mean for brands? Instagram is still kind of what we're seeing is that leading channel for Gen Z to shop that content. So if you're thinking kind of that full funnel strategy with creator, really driving that path to purchase is great on Instagram. And then TikTok is, of course, that I wouldn't even say it's a rising star anymore. It's just a tactic, and it's a channel that every brand should be using and should be thinking about in their full strategy. It's really that inspiration. It's where Gen Z is spending their time. It's where your brand needs to be to stay kind of in that consideration mindset. And this is really in line with the campaigns LTK is running with brands. So TikTok is really kind of that awareness, consideration driving bucket, and moving through ROI campaigns, which is of course important and one piece of a full creator strategy. We see other channels kind of shining and creating the best light for your brand kind of on those ROI campaigns. So we'll get to hear from creators here shortly, just on how they link through TikTok, how they encourage shopping, and really how they're using specific channels and for what purpose. But there's definitely a need for every channel and a full channel level strategy. And then this is super interesting as well. So they're the most influential on social. So we saw 2 slides ago that the second reason they use social media is to share with their followers. So not only are they, I guess, more influential than other generations, are actually going on these platforms and they're sharing out content and they're sharing out these finds. 64% of Gen Z share creator recommendations on social media, and that's 15% more than the general population. And I'm sure a lot of you on the phone, since you keep a pulse on the industry, you've seen headlines. Gen Z is actually seeking out becoming creators. It's a career aspiration. It's a career path. So we're seeing this big shift to sharing and repurposing creator content and creator recommendations among this generation. And short form video. So I think this conversation with Gen Z and short form video, they really go hand in hand. It's where people are spending their time, regardless of your generation. You're able to tell so much more about a brand, about a product. When you're watching a video, you're able to see, you know, that dress has pockets, or that handbag has a laptop sleeve on the inside. You're just able to see so much more. It's no longer a trend. It really is a full strategy for your brand to incorporate if you haven't already. We see 99% of Gen Z watching video on social media. So again, I'm just going to round up all of Gen Z watches video on social media. And what we see here of where they're watching video, YouTube is number 1. So they identify YouTube as kind of number 1 of where they do watch video, followed by TikTok, followed by Instagram. But where we see a shift when they're asked about the time they spend watching video, we see Instagram being kind of where they're spending the most time. So we see Reels and Live being those top spots, followed by Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. So really wherever video is being consumed, Gen Z is there and they're watching it and they're spending time on their phones. That's my big takeaway with short form video based on our national study data. So to layer in some LTK data here, we looked at every single campaign obligation on our platform. So I forget the count off the top of my head, but we run a ton of campaigns with a ton of brands and work with a ton of influencers. So we're looking at obligations submitted from paid campaign content. And really what we've seen is just this upward trend of video content. Of course, we see a spike in Q4 just due to seasonality, but we're just seeing that straight upward path. Brands are really leaning into this type of content. And when we evaluate, like, what's the purpose of it? Why? Of course, it drives sales in some regards, but really, what are you trying to do when you work on TikTok? You're trying to play, you're trying to influence and make a name for your brand on platforms where that generation is. And we've seen that video content actually drives a 50% higher engagement rate than a static post. So video is incredibly impactful for your brand when it comes to engaging with consumers, engaging with an authentic audience. So as with any obligation, we've seen the best success where we allow creators creative freedom. However much creative freedom your brand feels comfortable with. Of course, video, you're giving it a little bit more control to the creator. We have I guess, contracts in place with brands where we can do video reviews to make it a little bit more comfortable in that regard. But we really see that best results in that highest engagement rate when we open up that creative freedom to the creator. So before we wrap, we have a couple more slides and then we'll move into our discussion with our two Gen Z creators. But think of this page here as your tear sheet. We shared a ton of data in this presentation and a ton of channel level data. So this is all boiled down onto one page. So just kind of quickly reading through, where's Gen Z watching video? YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, the most time consuming videos. So again, different from where they're watching video, but where they're spending the most time. We see Facebook jumping up there. And then also we see Instagram and TikTok. And then where are they shopping creator content? We see Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And then where are they following creators? We see Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and their favorite channels, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. So they are all here laid out on the page for you. So before we wrap and move into the panel, just ending with some takeaways for now. Holiday, it is coming up. If you haven't planned working with creators for holiday, we need to do it now. Now is the time. So just thinking about how you should work with this generation for holiday. What gifts are they shopping for? Who are they buying for? So what gifts? Right now we see, based on our national study, is beauty and personal care being as the #1 gifted product, followed by candy, food, gift baskets, followed by entertainment. So things like movies, music, books, and then fashion and accessories and electronics as some of those top shopped categories. We've talked a lot in our webinar series this year about how creator isn't just a fashion-centric industry. It really is a tactic that stretches every vertical. And we continue to see that data really reinforced here. And we actually see the best performance with creators when they're talking about products cross-vertical. It's more authentic. That's how consumers live their lives. And it's just what we've seen perform best. Additionally, Gen Z's top holiday purchases this year. So when we look at purchases, not just with gifting, but kind of purchases in general, their top purchase items will be for themselves. So it will be holiday clothing and accessories. So you think of, it's a really big consumer shopping moment. There's a lot to dress for. We're coming out a couple of years of maybe we had less events and now we're back into more events than we were over the last couple of years. And they're also shopping for their home and entertaining essentials. So this shows that this group could be marketed towards not just for gifting campaigns, but really holiday prep in general. So to wrap, just reading through some big takeaways here. And again, we'll be sharing this presentation post-webinar, but Gen Z, they're the least impacted by inflation. Of course, they're still watching their purchases more than last year, but they are the least impacted by inflation. And the majority shop online on their phones through social media, and short form video is here to stay. Creators are the most trusted Gen Z medium over social ads and celebrities. Most influential social shoppers, so nearly 2/3 share creator recommendations, which is the highest of any generation. And they're gifting for themselves. They're shopping for holiday events. They're also gifting others, and we went through that list there. But that's what we have in terms of data shared today. Again, we'll follow up with all of these slides, and we're excited to move into the panel. Awesome. So just to kick us off, I'm really excited to introduce both Jenna Palek and Brooke Lynn. So we walked, I guess, just the brands on the phone through some of the industry data and really what this data is showing to unlock Gen Z spending power. But I always say creator marketing is both an art and a science. And at the end of the day, there's people behind the ads and behind the marketing that we're doing. So we'd like to hear from the people that really bring this industry to life. So excited to introduce Jenna and Brooke here with us today. So just kicking us off, Brooke, we'll have you start. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get started as a creator? What content you focus on? Just anything you can share.
Yes. So my name is Brooke. I am born and raised in Salt Lake City. I still live in the area. I got married last summer, so I've been married for a year now, and I've been doing content for about 2 years now. I just got started doing content creation. I feel like a lot of people just get on social media to catch up with people. But I feel like when COVID started, I hopped on TikTok and I was just filming, just regular things. I was also in college, so I was filming like things that I would find helpful. I also worked at Chick-fil-A, and so I made a lot of Chick-fil-A content, and all of that just kind of brought in a wide variety of people that were interested in some little bits of my life. And then it just kind of grew from there. But yeah, that's kind of how I got started. And I definitely am still like stuck on TikTok, not stuck, but that's definitely my main platform that I feel like is most exciting. But yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. And I feel like if I worked at Chick-fil-A, I would eat that for every single meal.
Still do.
Jenna, what about yours?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jenna Palek, like Brooke. TikTok is my main platform. So I actually started out same time as Brooke, right in COVID. I was graduating college, looking for a job. And, obviously a lot of people lost their jobs. No one was really hiring. And I really started my creator career when I posted a job resume video that went viral, and I ended up getting a job at TikTok. And I worked there for a year in advertising. I covered the beauty and fashion segment. So anyone that's on the call, I may have worked with some of you as an account manager. And over the year, as I moved to Austin, Texas from Cleveland, and I just started a life for myself, people started following me, whether it was for like my original story with my job or moving into a new apartment, making friends post-grad, and just dating, just everyday lifestyle. And so eventually I got to a point where I kind of had to pick and choose, like where do I see myself in the future, and decided to do content full time. So I've done that for the past year. I now have a podcast. I now host events, and I'm pretty much just a lifestyle creator. So I worked with like NASCAR and Fila. I've gone to the US Open, and also worked with like Pepsi and some other big CPG brands. But then I do a lot of beauty and fashion. Specifically on Like to Know It, I work with Walmart frequently, and they're a great partner. So yeah, that's kind of how I got started, and just kind of all encompassing just lifestyle in general.
Yeah, I think that's a great point too. We just see this shift of creators talking about that full aspect of their lives. And we've talked about that a lot this year at LTK and through these series. But I guess I'd love to hear from you both. Why do you use LTK? A lot of brands on the phone today, and they work with us a ton. Some are newer, but I think just hearing directly from creators of why they use us is always helpful. And we can start with you. Yeah, Jenna, you can start.
Okay. So personally for me, when it comes to linking things specifically, whether it's like home items, I just moved to a new house and people are constantly asking me for my bedding or my picture frame. And, there's a million things in one photo. And on Instagram, you can only ever just link to one website, but that doesn't really like help people find the specific product. And a lot of people they're looking for the quickest solution, right? Like people don't want to go to the website, then type in the name and then find it and then use your code and then do all of the extra work. People want to have it now. And with Like to Know It, you can take that photo and you can tag every single thing in it and do all the work for them. And so for me, it's a lot easier to have a page that has everything and it lives forever versus on Instagram stories where yes, you can link, but then that content expires in 24 hours. And I also don't want to have a 2-hour-long Instagram story highlighting that. And so for me, Like to Know It has become the easiest way to link. And I've recently started getting more into it as a lot of my creator friends have really encouraged me to start using it. And it's honestly helped me be able to help my community find things quicker.
Yep. I love that instant gratification. I think just in general, I look at the apps I use, like Uber Eats, instant gratification, foods to the door. LTK is kind of like that, but for all the products in your life. So that's a great representation. What about Brooke? What about you? Why do you use LTK?
Yes, everything Jenna said. People want the fastest, easiest, everything like that. They just want to, have it be a click of the button. I also love that you can link stuff and it's there. Kind of like she said with Instagram stories, those do expire. And so to have a place that everyone can go back years if they want to scroll and see things that you like. I also think it's a good way to just, consistently show brands and products that you're genuine about and that you really do love. But I also think it's just a good way to just share like deals and different brands and different products that like you're currently using, trying out, and just it's such a wide variety of brands you can use and link from. So it's a great investment as well, just as a creator to buy an item or, work with a company and then share an item as well.
Yeah. And one last thing too, I just want to add that as a creator, it is a nice platform to have like an evergreen type of opportunity for income because, like as a creator, we are doing brand partnerships and it might be one campaign or a couple campaigns, but that's like a few times a month or a few weeks, whatever it may be. And Like to Know It really is evergreen. So like you can post on it every single day. And I think a lot of creators are also really using Like to Know It to become a creator. Like there's a lot of just everyday people that don't have thousands and thousands of followers that are utilizing it and they're making decent money and they're helping people at the same time. And I think for anyone that ever asks me, how should I get into content creation? I'm always like, you should use Like to Know It. You should just post it and reshare the link to your Instagram story, put it in your link tree, wherever. And I think it's a good way to really like get into the industry.
Yeah. And I agree. We talk to brands all the time just about, not just channel level strategy, but influencer mix involved in that. And obviously you both have a ton of followers on all your social channels, but that brings up a great point. There's kind of creators of all sizes, from kind of the macro where you guys sit to the micro, just getting started. Shifting gears on that channel data. So that deck had so much data in it. So thank you everyone for bearing with me. But I'd love to hear from you both. I think I know the answer, but just your favorite social channel and why. So Jenna, we can start with you and then Brooke.
Yeah, so I would say, obviously, I love TikTok the most. I feel like I am my most authentic, genuine self on TikTok. I mean, if you look at my profile, like I am hardly wearing makeup, hardly ever. And I feel like it's encouraged almost to be yourself. Whereas I think for years and years, we've looked at Instagram as this place to show a highlight reel of your life, show yourself when you look your best. And for that reason, I think Instagram has become a place of a lot of comparison, especially as a creator. And so for me, I do love still using Instagram and following up with, like my friends and everything. But I use Instagram to follow my friends and family. And I use TikTok to discover new people and discover new content, discover new products. And so for me, TikTok is just a little bit more exciting and a little bit more real.
Yeah, it's that authenticity, and it's something we talk about with brands all the time. It's the end of the day, the content's not going to be representative if it's not authentic. And so I love that TikTok is kind of that unfiltered platform. Brooke, what about yourself?
Going off of Jenna with how TikTok is a little bit more authentic, like I feel like all of the Instagram bloggers that I used to follow, like it would be like them holding a product, superposed, a nice little filter on it. And as much as I would want to buy the item, I was like, I don't know, like how often do they use it? How do they use it? So I feel like video content is so helpful because you see them use it. They're not like, if they make a mistake or anything, it's not like you can Photoshop it. You can't throw filter on a video. Like I feel like it does come off so much more authentic than anything else. Yeah, I love TikTok. TikTok's definitely where I do like all of my promoting. I love it there. And I just feel like it's like you're on FaceTime with a friend more than just like, seeing updates every week of a friend on Instagram.
Yes, TikTok is the clear winner here. Jenna, so shifting gears a little to brand strategy, tell us about when you're in a partnership with a brand, how does that strategy differ channel to channel? So
yeah,
TikTok one way, Instagram one way, and what does that content look like?
Yeah, honestly, I could talk about this all day because when I started my job at TikTok in advertising, they had just created the ads manager. So I worked in the brand development area. It was like the growth. So, it's not like the huge American Eagles and Walmarts, but it's also not your local boutiques. And so I worked with a lot of brands from all sizes. And to this day, the one thing that I feel like brands really have a hard time grasping is the fact that TikTok is a discovery platform. So people are buying from these videos that they're seeing on their For You page from the creators they follow, but you can't track it the same way that you can with Facebook and Instagram. Their pixel is just not developed in the way that you can track conversions the way that you can on others. And so for that reason, I think it does create a lot of hesitation for brands that are, wanting to do ads on TikTok, but they just don't have a lot of trust in it. And what I will say is forget about conversion ads. Like, you are doing ads on TikTok for engagement, for views, and for discovery. And eventually that's going to convert, but you just truly have to believe it. And when I'm working with brands, for me, if it's like a clothing item or something, and I know that's going to perform well because it's a clickable link, I really enjoy doing stories and Instagram. But if it's something like an overall idea, let's say I did this partnership with NASCAR, and I actually got to bring a friend. So I took my dad and I made us custom shirts, and I had this entire weekend with NASCAR, and I made the entire content about me spending this time with my dad, like growing up watching the show together, watching races. And the content all just performed so well, and you just get an overall better idea of like an experience within a brand versus just the product. So for me, I personally always prefer to do a partnership on TikTok because I think it shows more of my personality. It's way more real, and it always just performs better than like a static photo, in my opinion. So just the overall approach to advertising on different platforms is completely different, and some industries work better than others for myself, but also it really, really varies on the creator. Like, some creators are great at selling makeup on TikTok. Some people are great at selling it on Instagram. And so I think you just really have to put trust in the creator to figure that out. And then from there, you can do tests and whatever, see what works for you. And then just kind of go from there and build a relationship with creators based on, what works for you.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's a full funnel strategy. And we talk to brands about that all the time, right? You're needing to not just generate that sale, but you're needing to get those new customers. You're needing to generate that interest and that consideration set. And that's really what I see that value of TikTok. So I completely agree there. Brooke, what about you? So I guess, what is the process of creating content on your social channels? Just walk us through a day in the life. What does creating that authentic content on TikTok look like? What does it look like on Instagram, YouTube, etc.?
So I have management, which is amazing to do all of like the contracts and all the behind the scenes and run through, what type of content these brands want from me. And that part is nice that it's taken with management because it is a lot of work. But as far as like, it's the day of that I'm going to be shooting this content, I love to just double check through the brief, first of all, that the brand gives to make sure I'm doing and saying, kind of what they're wanting. But also I try to think about, creative ways to show that on my platform that is going to be authentic to myself. So that's why I like when brands do give me a little bit more creative freedom, because I know my followers more than these brands know my followers. I know what's going to perform well and what they want to see and how they want to see it. And so, yeah, I wake up, I plan out the video. I kind of, think about the shots and think about what's trending right now on TikTok, because so many trends are in and out within a week or two. And so if you're able to hop on a trend as well as use that as like towards your, partnership with a brand, I feel like that also will get your engagement up a little bit. But yeah, I'll shoot my content and then I try and edit and, do all of that the same day as well, just while it's fresh on my mind. But yeah, and then I'll send it on over back to the brand, see if they have any edits. And yeah, that's more of like the day in the life of an actual, brand deal.
How do you stay on top of all the trends if they change so fast?
They do change so fast. Trending sounds are, I feel like, even if it's not a brand deal, but if it's just, me posting, something I'm doing that day and I'm not hitting a trend or a sound, and then the next day I do basically the same thing and there's a sound that can kind of fit for what I'm doing, extra like 50,000 to 100,000 views. I don't know if Jenna can agree, but I feel like if you can hit trends, especially with partnerships, it is just so beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, that's amazing hearing you say that. So basically, the brand is paying you guys to stay on top of the trends for them, which I think is, a good bang for your buck if you're a brand. So question for you all before we move on to the next section, just tell us the type of content that performs best on these different channels. So we get asked all the time, we know it's video content, but do outfit hauls perform best? Do in-store content, does that perform best? Like, and does that change per channel? And I'm sure it changes just hearing you talk about trends, but do you have any kind of like common factors on, we'll choose TikTok and Instagram, of like what types of content you're like, yes, this typically performs for me? Brooke, we can start with you and then Jenna.
I think it all differs, and there's types. Like, I feel like last year hauls were so big. That's kind of what I got established as. And like, if anyone ever recognizes me, they're like, oh, you're the girl that does Amazon hauls or whatever. And I feel like people now are shifting to more organic, raw, unfiltered content where they want to see what you're doing in a day. They want to just, so like an outfit, check in the middle of a daily vlog is better than a haul of a bunch of different outfits, because you're putting it on for just a few seconds instead of them seeing you wear the item, do your daily things, go get like your morning drinks or go get breakfast, cook your lunch, go on a date with your husband. At the end of the day, they want to see that item used like all day. They don't want it just posed, hold in front of the camera, and you're just in your bathroom the whole time.
What about you, Jenna?
Yeah, I would actually completely agree with you. What I was going to say is I think Gen Z specifically is having this shift towards like overconsumption and being really frustrated by seeing creators doing huge PR hauls, opening all of this excessive product, showing a ton of clothes. And it's like, this isn't realistic, right? Like, we're trying to save the planet. So why are we doing the complete opposite? And I think at first, to what Brooke was saying, like people loved seeing that. But now I think people are kind of becoming aware, and it's definitely shifting, as she said, from doing these giant PR boxes and like showing all the products they got, and kind of like it feels a little show offy, and especially when it's coming from a creator. So I personally, I don't like doing that type of video anymore, because it doesn't feel genuine for me. And maybe if it's in a way of, oh, okay, I'm going to get dinner with my friend after work today, help me pick an outfit. And let's show 3 different outfits and let's style them different ways. People would love to see that versus taking it out of a box, being like, hey, look what I just got for free. Or look how much money I just spent on all this stuff. And I think also just in general, storytelling, like people are so engaged by just a story, whether it's a day in your life or it's showing an experience going to a concert, or it's just telling a story face to face. Anything that is me talking to a camera, whether it's 20 seconds of 60 seconds or my 3-minute videos, they always do pretty well. And I think it's just because people want to feel like your friend. And when it's more intimate and it's just me and you talking to the screen, it feels like we know each other. And it's kind of that like parasocial relationship that you build through TikTok, through that. For me on Instagram, the things that perform the best are when I do like a question. So to be like, ask me anything, or ask me for advice, or, ask me what you're looking for right now for your fall wardrobe. Things like that. People are always super, super engaging of it. And also my home content does really, really well on Instagram stories. It's always my highest impressions, my highest reach, highest replies. And I think I've been trying to show like parts of my day within stories as well, so that I am active on Instagram, and I don't like to overcrowd my feed with daily photos. I only like to share photos when I'm like genuinely doing something that I'm excited to share with my followers, versus just like, let me put on this outfit, let me go shoot content in front of a parking garage. That's not like, the daily person doesn't have the time or the resources to be able to do that. And people want to see their creators being like them. They want to see them living a normal life with a normal job. And the second that they stop feeling that way, it feels out of touch. And then you lose your audience. And then what's an audience what's a brand deal if you don't have an audience? So that's my take on it.
They want to feel like they can do or have what you're doing and what you have. So like she said, like just getting dinner with a friend, that's something they're going to do. And so that's, a piece or like an article of clothing, a makeup item. If you're using that to go out to dinner with your friends, that's something they do. So that's when they're going to want to purchase or, invest in that item.
It seems like this shift from that styled, highly editorial picture to this more unfiltered, natural conversation specifically for Gen Z. And I think,
Yeah. And it's funny too, like when you look at a lot of, like you look at Emma Chamberlain, for example, she's a huge Gen Z influencer, and photo dumps have become like the new feed, almost where like you're trying to only post your most casual pictures. And it doesn't even need to be you in it. People will post a picture of like, I don't even know, like a plate of food that's already half eaten. Like people don't like aesthetics anymore. It's almost the less unaesthetic it is, like the better it performs, oddly enough. I don't know why, but definitely just very natural and raw and real. And I think that is what performs the best across all platforms, just for this generation specifically.
that's wonderful insight. I feel like we all have a lot to say on that, but I think the brands on the phone, that's highly insightful, right? Because we're merging creator and new generation with brand standards and hearing kind of how we work with video and these newer platforms. It's just insightful. So shifting gears, so naturally brands on the phone are also interested in tracking performance. We can tell so much through engagement metrics. We shared video content on our platform performs 50% higher than static posts in terms of engagement rate. And we can also track sales as well at LTK. So TikTok, I said it's the rising star. I don't think it's the rising star. I think it is the star. On the brand side, we need to talk about TikTok for a little bit. We have conversations all the time with our brand partners, how to use it, how to put it in their strategy. So we want to hear, I guess, from you guys. How do you link through TikTok? What's your preference? What do you like as both a creator and a consumer? Any insight? Brooke, let's start with you and then Jenna.
So TikTok is so hard to link because there's not like, you can't click URLs in your comment section, you can't click URLs in your caption. And so when brands do want those links, it is very difficult. And then it's like something that they have to copy and paste or bring to their, there's just so many steps to linking on TikTok. So I do have a like link in my bio that, highlights a few of my favorite like brands or products, or it'll say like shop my links that like to know it, or it'll say like, just specific things to the brand. But one of my favorite things to do is to like cross link onto Instagram stories, because that is where you can actually see, how many people are actually clicking, how many people are interested. And as great as it is to have that video, sometimes it is helpful to have that still photo, because people can see the product up close in more detail. You're not waving it across the screen. And then, like I said, a quick like to know it link, or just, little shop on the Instagram story is super helpful.
Yeah, so cross promotion and link in bio seems to be the standout. What about you, Jenna?
Yeah, so my like advertising side comes out. So when it comes to TikTok, like putting link in bio or putting the link, literally the URL into your caption, I've seen that the ads just, they perform worse. In my opinion, like the engagement is down. It feels very gimmicky. And I also think that from an ads approval side of things, like at TikTok corporately, it kind of like flags that a little bit as gimmicky text. And so oftentimes it can kind of stop your campaign because they flag it as spam, and then it'll be paused. And then in its peak of when it should be engaging the most, your campaign is paused. So I would always recommend steering clear of a link in bio situation, or like in the caption. To Brooke's point, I do agree with cross promoting kind of. For me, like if I'm wearing a full outfit in a video on TikTok, it's easier for me to reply to a comment and say my entire outfit is linked on like to know it. Or I also, pretty frequently I'll pin my own comment, and it'll be where everything is from. And then under that thread, I'll share the tags for everything. And I mean, for that aspect, it's really hard because you can't track that conversion. But like I said, TikTok, you have to understand, it's like, it's just not built to the extent to be able to track these conversions yet. And I think in our mind, like we want TikTok to be a shoppable feed, ideally. But then if we think about what the future of that would be, is just an entire shopping feed where people already have the answer, right? Like they can click on it right away. They already know where it's from. They're not going to like the video because they're not going to have to go back to it ever again. They're not going to comment on it asking where it's from. So your engagement's going to go down, and then your discovery is going to go down. And I think the fact that TikTok is top of funnel is a really great thing because it does drive that engagement. And I think just understanding you have to incorporate it into your marketing strategy at top of funnel and then go from there. And if there's a video that performs really well, like I highly recommend just doing paid usage and running it as a Spark ad, because then you can put the CTA on it, whether it's like shop now or learn more, and it'll go directly to the site. And from there you can track it. You know, you can track like the link clicks, the website visits, the add to cart, all of that stuff. And then from there you can build an audience on TikTok within your advertising manager. So that's how I view it. I just think you kind of got to get rid of the idea of linking on TikTok. Like it's not going to happen, at least right now. And I think it's a good thing that it's not happening.
So it's just tracking and thinking of it completely different than those bottom of funnel metrics. And we actually recently launched a media boosting solution at LTK to boost creator content on behalf of brands. And so we've started running tests with brands, and those have been really successful in terms of just like incremental click-through rate and incremental traffic that we're driving to those posts. So definitely second that, and those kind of help amplify those upper funnel metrics. And again, it like all weaves together, right? If a consumer, that we're not just shopping in one place, you're seeing content somewhere, you might put down your phone, you might shop it later. And there's just so many different paths to purchase that I think brands need to be mindful of. But we saw it in the data. Gen Z is on TikTok. That is where they are spending their time. We're going to shift gears. You kind of touched on it, Jenna, just about the future. So I'm very biased. I've been in this industry for years, but I do see the data, and it shows that creator marketing and specifically creator commerce is really just that future of marketing. All the macro trends are pointing that direction. It's the norm, and we predict it's going to continue to be a larger and larger share of voice for marketing spend each year for brands' budgets, and really touching so many more teams. We talked about it, right? TikTok's upper funnel, some Instagram's more lower funnel. There's strategies that touch all these different social channels. But for both of you, we can start with you, Brooke. How do you see social media changing next year, or just changing in general? So this could be touched on it, content becoming more casual, TikTok continuing to be a larger focus, but really, where do you think social media is going?
I think TikTok is where it's going, and I think it'll still be going there for a while. I also, every time I get on TikTok, I feel like I see a new brand that just made their own account, just like they do have on Instagram. And now they're also making this authentic content as well, which I think is super beneficial. I've also noticed just in my analytics of like who's following me and all of that, I see that the older audience is also joining TikTok. It's almost kind of becoming this like Google search, and I do that all the time. I'm like, must have fall items, but I do it on TikTok because I trust people that, you know, have the videos, they do the try-ons, or they are showing you how they use the item. So I think it's almost becoming kind of, Jenna said it earlier, it's like, but that's where we're searching for our content or our information. And then I also do think that just more people, more demographic is hopping on there as well as brands also hopping on there too.
I love that. Yeah, we'll start to see more growth in my generation and others on the platform. Jenna, what about yourself? Where do you think social media is changing over the next year?
I think from a brand perspective, you start to see a lot more brands like becoming a creator themselves. Like my boyfriend's brand, they do a really good job of creating all of their own content, and it's very just like casual, and it's also led to like great success for their company. Just showing the personality behind the brand, I think is really key to like connect with Gen Z specifically, People don't really care to see styled shoots anymore. They don't care about like commercial video. They want to see somebody who's working at your company, like a day in their life of what they're doing, even if it's just sitting at a desk. I think you'll also see a lot of brands that are starting to hire people specifically for casual content creation. Not just like your overarching digital media person who's running your Instagram, but you need someone who's going to run your TikTok too. Like that needs to be a separate job, because there's a lot that this person needs to do in order to like kind of build that. And I also think in terms of creators, you're going to start to see like, I hope that brands start treating their most valued customers as their influencers. I saw a video about this and I agree wholeheartedly that it's like brands will send flowers or gifts to a creator on their birthday saying, happy birthday, like we love you. And this person has never used their brand before. And it feels like kind of inauthentic almost. And I think the value is coming from real consumers. And so if you have like a really great consumer that continues to purchase from your brand, sending that person like a gift or a note or a special discount or something, I think that's going to go so much further in the future, and just treating our consumers like influencers, because the reality is that they are. And I think we'll see too that micro influencers, just your average people, are going to become even more reputable than your creators. I think creators are going to turn into the celebrities, and it's going to be this cycle that continues to repeat.
I can definitely tell your marketing background coming out on this call.
I love it. It's seriously, I haven't talked about this kind of stuff in so long. It gets me fired up.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think you touched on a lot of just like macro topics, right? We've touched on a few of our webinars this year, the rise of direct to consumer brands and really connecting with their niche audiences. And of course, micro creators are just such an important part of any brand strategy, and really working with them to find their unique audience. And at the end of the day, Gen Z, they're sharing more. Like I shared on the data on the page there, they're sharing more than any generation before. In fact, that's the second reason they go on social media, is to share recommendations and to share products with their followers. So you kind of just reiterated what a lot of this big industry data is saying. We have a couple minutes left, ending with the last question, but what's your advice to brands when working with Gen Z? So we can start with you, Jenna, and then Brooke.
Yeah, I think we said this before, but I think realizing that we understand our audience better than anyone else. Like we know what's going to perform well. So a lot of times I've gotten to the point where before I agree to a campaign, like I have to ask what the creative is. And if it's super strict and there's specific things that I need to hit that I know are not going to translate well, I would rather put my personal like brand before that, and just recognize that like it's not a good fit. This isn't going to perform well, and I'm not going to be proud to like post a video that doesn't feel true to me. And I think you also have to recognize that like there might be, so this happened to me. I was wearing a deodorant in a video, and people just constantly were asking about the deodorant. I live in Texas. It's really hot here. I use men's deodorant. And I ended up doing a campaign with this deodorant because I was super excited. I'm like, yeah, I use it. My organic video performed super well. When it came to the sponsored content, it took months and months and months of approval, because we just were not aligning on what the overall conversation about it was. And they wanted me to share all of these ingredients, facts, and, scientific data. And I'm like, girl, I promise you, they're not going to buy it because of the glycerin in it. Like no one knows what that is. And like, if I just am able to show how I use something in the way that is most true to me, that's how brands are going to find success. You just really have to put a lot of trust in the creator sharing their voice. And it can be scary for sure, but I think if you start small and you start to see the impact, then from there you can grow, especially going into the holiday season. Like last year, my partnerships were crazy busy, and I expect it to be probably the same this year. And with so many, brands trying to hop on this for the holiday season, it does make creators a lot more more selective when it comes to what campaigns they want to do. And they're going to prioritize the ones that they have freedom over.
Yeah, I mean, I think these are all amazing points. And I mean, on our platform, we're seeing just even this year before holiday, it's going to grow even more, but double-digit growth from brands just in campaign dollars alone. And that's not even the volume, that's just the sheer campaign dollars. And so this industry, it's definitely growing at these crazy growth rates and that other mediums aren't. But yeah, I mean, it is, I've talked to so many brands from kind of that enterprise level to more of those D2C companies, but just about that giving up control. And of course, at that enterprise level, it's mirroring, right? It's the influencer voice and authenticity with brands' legal standards in a lot of cases. And so there's definitely guardrails. And I think it's figuring out like, what are the true guardrails for, you know, these massive enterprises to follow through short form video content, because it can be scary to give some of that up. But I think things like, right, post previews and reviewals and kind of understanding that up front really allows a brand or LTK to brief that creator and kind of come up with that right concept that's authentic. Brooke, what about you? We're right at time, but what's your advice? Brands on the phone for working with Gen Z.
Yes, let the influencer or the creator do what they know is best for their audience and what their audience wants to see. My favorite thing is when a brand gives me creative freedom, I can do what I, plan to do that I think will work best on my account. And then when I send it over to the brand, they're like, sounds good, like post it away. Like that is just so comforting as a creator to know that they're not like micromanaging what you're posting, that you're able to share it in that authentic way. I feel like this is literally a terrible example probably, but like when it comes to like anything health related for me, like I've shared many times on the internet that I have troubles going to the bathroom. Like I will say that. And so if I can add that humor into, whatever product that's beneficial to me, that's better than like Jenna said with the deodorant, listing all the ingredients. Like let me speak on like how it's helped me, even though I don't know what all of these little vitamins and ingredients actually do. Like it's better for me to just speak from my experience using the product than not. And then my other little bit of advice is to look at creators that are already using your product and sharing your product. So if you see on Like to Know It that there's a few different creators that are really just like hitting all of these sales for you, like that's who you want to pitch to, because their audience knows that they use it authentically. So then all of a sudden when there's a sponsored ad, they're not going to be like, oh, this is sponsored, I'm not going to, believe them or go with it. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, that's such an amazing opportunity for that creator. I feel like followers are aware of that, especially for people that aren't, celebrities. They'll be so supportive. I have such a supportive community. Like if they see me work with some of my dream brands, Lululemon, Sephora, Target, Walmart, they're always like, I see you, way to go, like buying this immediately because they've seen me use it before. They know I genuinely love the brand. And I feel like that's what has really just worked for me and the brands.
No, this was amazing insight. Well, you guys did a phenomenal job. Thank you so much, both Brooke and Jenna, for sharing your Gen Z insights with this older millennial and our brands.